So in this deep dive into ORAN architecture, no, in last meeting, we were able to discuss majority of the slides of the content, no, for 2 hours. Essentially, we looked into the evolution of the RAN architecture from a traditional RAN to cloud RAN to virtualized RAN or centralized RAN, virtualized RAN, and finally open RAN. No. We have reviewed, no, that why there was a need, no, to have an open radio access network, what are the benefits and such. So, but we'll also cover them in the next few minutes. And then once we have established the motivation behind the need for open RAN, we look into the architecture itself, which is the a key slide of this lecture. So basically, in the ORAN architecture, there are various components, various interfaces, and because of the concept of Open RAN, no, these components may be virtualized now. No, they don't need to necessarily be deployed as a single device. They can be virtualized and running on top of the commercial off-the-shelf server, just like what was reviewed earlier, no, by Sir Liber. So because of the virtualization component, it allows the mobile operator to have more flexibility on how they plan to deploy their system, whether they want their system to have everything in one device or maybe multiple device, and be able to update the hardware and software easily. And then also part of the architecture would be the new components, those that are not yet are not standardized by 3GPP, but rather standardized by ORAN Alliance. So these are the near real-time RIC, the non-real-time RIC at the SMO. So these RAN intelligent controllers would be used to optimize the whole radio access network. Okay, so with that, now let me now look into the next slides. So last meeting, we reviewed the different mobile network not mobile network coverage in the Philippines. We realized that there are thousands of radio access networks. So these radio access networks are the base stations that we see, usually those that are painted like this, or like there's a standard in the Philippines na showing this, like, is it red? Is it red or orange? Sometimes it's a bit orangey. So red, white. There's a standard for this, and usually they put this up to ensure that the flying vehicles, no, would like the airplanes, the helicopters, would be able to see it even from afar. There's also some LEDs from there as well. So usually those radio access networks and their antennas are located on this base station, but it's not exclusive. Now, sometimes the certain components may be far away. But you can see here now that like these antennas here are for the access to the user equipment. So in essence, the telecommunications network would have these three major components. We have the core network, and this one involves the interconnection between different service providers, as well as interconnection between their central offices and other components to ensure the smooth operation of the telco. And then that would involve like routers, switches, servers, layer three switches, and it may be interconnected by fiber optics, wireless connection, but mostly fiber optics, no, via submarine cables. And then we have the transport network, to connect now the core network to the access network. The access network, or basically what we call the RAN, radio access network, is the one providing the radio frequency transmission to the user equipment. They're the ones who connect the user equipment like your mobile phones or any device that has a cellular technology embedded in them are connects, these devices. Okay, so this access network is what we're focusing on in Open RAN. Although there are also some move to shift no even the core network to open core network, which is not entirely possible and entirely impossible. And okay, so this is our focus to the access network. No? And over different generations, we know that there are different names. Like in 2G, it's GSM. In Edge, it's also 2G but 2.75G. And then 3G is UMTS, 4G is LTE, and then 5G is NR now. So for each generation, there are different names, and actually, because there are also different components before, so different devices, like as you can see here, we have base station controller, base transceiver station, radio network controller, node B, E node B, and G node B. So all of them also have different um, components, which make it not cost effective no, in the long run, especially if the generation changes every 10 years. So the mobile network operator has to lay out a lot of new set of equipment to be able to upgrade to another generation. So with that, in the that cost the because of that the a lot of organizations involved in telecommunications decided to expand or rather revise how they view the different components. So ultimately, it led to the disaggregation of the networks or disaggregation of the different components. So, like for example, when I say disaggregation, it's just the splitting of the system into smaller subsystems. This was brought by the virtualization of the software, and because of that, no, the software and hardware components may be disaggregated, meaning it's not necessarily that the software must run on a specific hardware, and also it's not necessarily that the hardware is really designed for that particular software. No, just like in Apple operating systems or like Apple products, they have proprietary software and proprietary hardware. You can't really install Windows without a lot of effort not to in a MacBook. But here, no, because of this aggregation, it's not necessarily that they have this same software, same vendor for the software, and same vendor for the hardware. Okay, and particularly we are looking into the disaggregation of the RAN hardware and the software. Okay, so in the traditional radio access networks, the hardware and software are not yet this aggregated. So in the early phases of 3G and 2G, they have the everything as a specialized device. So we have a cabinet showing the BBU, the baseband unit, and the radio unit. So the radio unit, from the name itself, is really more on the final processing of the signal, the analog to digital conversion, and the digital to analog conversion. And once it leaves the cabinet, it will go over it will travel or it will travel the RF cable. And imagine if it's a high tower, like we have seen earlier. If it's like meters long or meters tall of tower, then there will be a lot of signal losses. If you're teaching in electronics engineering field, we also calculate the loss no, here, the attenuation. There will be a lot of more attenuation per unit length. And once it reaches the antenna, then the signal has already degraded. And if the input power of the antenna is a bit low, then the range of the antenna will be also limited. So because of that, because of this issue of the long RF cables causing signal losses, no, especially this is in the past it was coaxial cable or the copper cables. No. They're they're not quite quite good no to be operated at gigahertz range. So later, they modified it such that instead of copper cables here, it's now fiber optic cables, and the RF processing, especially the radio unit, will be nearer the antenna so that it will not, there's still an amplification option. And then the antenna can radiate at an optimal power. Okay, but that separation between the RU and BBU requires an interface, to allow them to, because in the past they are combined here. They needed an interface, to connect to each other, which we call the CPRI, or Common Public Radio Interface. Unfortunately, this is proprietary. So that means if you need to replace one component like the uh, radio unit and the baseband unit, it should be from the same vendor, because they have to also be consistent with the CPRI. Okay? And then that's the traditional RAN. This one on the left is what we call the non-split architecture. The one on the right is the split architecture. Okay, there are also advancements in terms of centralization of the baseband unit, which is why we have this centralized RAN, wherein the original interface, connecting the radio unit and the baseband unit, which we also call the front hole unit, front hole interface. They are now as a optical distribution network. So it's not necessary that the baseband unit is at the bottom of the tower. They may be located far away, maybe in the central office, and servicing a lot of different antennas or different radio remote units, or RRH, or remote radio head, another name for RRD. And then from there, they can better process their data. And if needed, there can be like load balancing and things like that. And then X2 is just to interconnect the different BBU components. Okay, so this what we call centralized RAN, it's called centralized because a lot of the baseband units are pulled together in certain centralized location, and somehow it kind of mimics a cloud. So that's why they also call this a cloud RAN. Okay, but what you need to remember is it's basically centralized. The baseband unit is pulled together in a specific location, wherever the telco's office is, or wherever they can manage to host a lot of the baseband units. And then another evolution, another form of the radio access network is what they call the virtualized RAN, or just virtual RAN, or vRAN. In this case, it's maybe the baseband units may also be pulled together to have all their functions in the same location, and then the baseband unit is actually virtualized. They are virtualized and running uh, on top of the COTS hardware, or COTS server, although the baseband unit software is proprietary. So somehow this introduced the concept of virtualization into the radio access network. No? So is this open already? Um, Not yet. It's not yet open because of the interface, no, connecting the radio unit and the baseband unit. So if you need to change a certain component, you need to still update all the hardware components. Okay, so finally, we have seen all the three components, three different RANs. This is how they differ. Maybe go to the, yeah, okay. So this is the RAN architecture evolution. We have seen the different RANs, the traditional RAN. This is the summary of it. We have all the components and software as proprietary. So it causes a vendor lock-in in the system, in the telco. And then the centralized RAN, also still proprietary, but introduced the concept of the BBU pooling and the distribution network. Then next is the virtualized RAN, mostly proprietary, except the hardware components of the baseband unit. Then the software is now virtualized network functions. And then finally, we have Open RAN. All the hardware components, the RRU, the BBU, and the frontal interface are open. The COTS server, commercial off-the-shelf server, commercial off-the-shelf um, radio unit, or the software-defined radio are all open, meaning they are not tied together. They're not locked in the particular vendor. They can mix and match in this case. Okay, so with that, because of the openness of this whole system, it allows for more competition across different vendors. So instead of somehow monopolizing the industry, it allows more vendors to participate and provide a more competitive pricing. So what they're trying to compete more over is more on the software aspect, how good their software, the virtualized software will be, and also this openness also cause the will also cause the mobile network operators to have a flexible deployment, whether they want to deploy all their BBUs together, or maybe just have certain functions in the BBU or in the RUCU and things like that. But of course, with that openness, it also introduces some challenges, particularly in terms of the interoperability. So there should also be a test to see whether the devices are interoperable, and if they will be um, functioning the same as the one with the proprietary system. And what else? Of course, are implications in terms of uh, of the local policies. Whether the in Philippines there are already some policies guiding the implementation of open radio access network. And also, of course, the interoperability between different telephones as well. Okay, but in essence, in this lecture, we're mostly focusing on the Open RAN architecture, but we have just covered the motivation before discussing the overall architecture. Okay, let me now go to the architecture discussion. So just a review again, this is how we view the telco in general. Now we have the core network, the transport network, and the access network. Just through the three main components in the telco system. And then what we're looking at is the access network. Yeah. And another way of viewing the mobile network, we have the core network here, and then we have the radio access network. The backhaul is what we call the transport network. The radio access network is the one connecting the core network and then connecting the UE. And these are the main components. We have, of course, the antennas, the radio unit or remote radio unit. We have the baseband unit connecting to the radio unit via front haul interface. And then because of the disaggregation of the baseband unit, it is further this is split into the DU, distributed unit, and the CU, centralized unit. Since they may be located far away from each other, there's now what we call a mid-haul interface. Okay, so now we have RRU, front haul, DU, mid-haul, and the CU. Okay, so how does this show the architecture? We're slowly going there. Okay, so this is also another way of viewing the ORAN architecture. Made it's a bit simple compared to uh, the other architecture. So we have here the centralized unit here, the orange one. We have the distributed unit, this one. And then we have the radio unit. It's just like the previous slide, except it's colored and it's vertical. So we have radio unit. It is connected to the distributed unit via the front haul interface. And then we have the distributed unit connected to the centralized unit via the mid-haul interface. So front haul and then mid-haul. And then not shown in this architecture is, of course, the backhaul unit connecting the CU to the core network. So what are the other components here? These are new components na introduced by the ORAN Alliance. No? Like for example, the service management and orchestration. It is responsible for RAN domain management. And also it is hosting the non-real-time RAN intelligent controller. From the name itself, non-real-time RAN intelligent controller. So mostly looking at tasks, processing some tasks that require greater than 1 second of latency. Okay, and then it also collects some data from the RAN components, which we will see later. It is connecting to the other components via O1 interface. Then the near real-time RIC is managing the other components in the RAN. It connects to the CU and the DU of each node. So if there are multiple nodes in the telco, it may also be connected to all those different nodes. The purpose is to look into the management of the RAN if there is a need to perform some network slicing and things like that. No, it's the non-real-time RIC is in charge of that. Any tasks that require less than 1 second of latency, that's near real-time RIC. Okay, so what is this CPN CUUP? It's basically just the control plane and the user plane. Okay, so let's slowly go to the architecture. This is just another way of looking at the architecture without the connections, without the interfaces. Again, you can see here the service management framework, same color as before, no? And the non-real-time RIC, as mentioned, this is supporting tasks requiring greater than 1 second of latency. Then near real-time RIC supports tasks less than 1 second of latency. Then there's an OCloud. This is ORAN cloud infrastructure where the cloud native virtualized functions are running. Okay. And then finally, this is the architecture. That's a long build up towards the architecture. But here, you can see the various components of the RAN. Still, we have the three parts, the CU, the DU, and the RU. That's the main RAN component. Those are the main RAN components. And then the RU, of course, is connected to the DU via the front haul interface. Meron lang sub planes. And then all of them are open, as signified by the O in front of the components. So we have ORU, ODU, and then OFH, or open front haul. And then again, connecting the DU to the CU is the mid-haul interface. Particularly, it is what we call the F1 interface, defined by the 3GPP standards. So notice that some interfaces, the interconnections, some are gray, like this F1, this E1, X2, and so on. They are gray because they are 3GPP defined interface, or 3GPP specific interfaces. So this is actually the RAN, right? The three components here. And then there are also other RAN, like the eNode B. So the open node B. Okay, so we have the open eNode B. This eNode B is, of course, 4G node. Remember, 4G node is called as eNode B. And then it's considered open. So if the node B is an open radio access network, it can also be used to interconnect the near real-time RIC to the other components. Okay, so the near real-time RIC here is connected to the various RAN components across using the E2 interface. So near real-time RIC to the CU, near real-time RIC to the DU, and then near real-time RIC to the eNode Bs, or also GNode Bs, 4G and 5G nodes. So that's the E2 interface. That's the one connecting and gathering the data, getting some analytics. No? Kasi once you get all those data, it can be processed for for the purpose of synchronization, for the purpose of network slicing, and things like that. And all the data can also be transferred towards the non-real-time RIC through the A1 interface so that it can be used for preparing the machine learning models and also the um, other models needed, no, for further processing. Okay, so this is the most important slide, no, in this lecture. And at first, no, it is a bit um, there's a lot a lot of components, a lot of interfaces. So, but if you were able to follow, no, the discussion, you see that we were slowly introducing each component, no, until we build up towards this architecture. Okay, so what else have we not covered? We have the O1 interface, as you can see here. The O1 interface is connecting the SMO to various components. Why is it connected to a lot of components? Because it also needs to connect to them if there are changes, no, in the configuration. If there's a need to update some policies, if there's a need to update some management information and things like that. Okay. What else? We also have the O2 interface. No? It's connected to the Open Cloud. Again, the OCloud component has the cloud network functions, network virtualized functions. And then I forgot to mention, but O1 interface is not yet connected to the radio unit. So that means it the SMO still cannot configure, no, the radio units far away, but it is currently being studied, no, for future versions or for future upgrades. Okay, and then the other components here, or rather interfaces here, are 3GPP specified, like the X2 interface connects the TU, not to other nodes, because sometimes they can interconnect and communicate. They can talk to each other and give updates. No? And then the NG interface is towards the 5G, no? 5G nodes, the same as the XN interface as well. No? Yeah. All these gray interfaces, no, are 3GPP specified. No? Okay, so this is the most important slide. You can also check this out na in the ORAN Alliance website. So at the bottom of the page, docs.o-ran-sc.org, or simply just search for ORAN architecture and then make sure that the domain is the ORAN Alliance. Okay, so I'll be wrapping up in a bit, no, just giving my final comments, no, for yung mga basic, yung mga important notes. No. So we can also view, no, the architecture like this. No. In this architecture, we can further see the main functions, no, of each part. Like for example, the SMO can focus on the design, the inventory, the policy, and the configuration. No? That's why it is connected also to various components via the O1 interface. It also has the non-real-time plan intelligent controller, which is again in charge of tasks greater than 1 second of latency. Like for example, if there's a need to train a model for uh, AI, for traffic detection and things like that. This will be the non-real-time RIP now will assist in that. And then forward the trained model to the near real-time RIC via the A1 interface. And then, of course, the near real-time RIC will now use that trained model to do lots of things. It can be used for interference management, quality of service mobility, and radio connection management, and other third-party applications. So that's the beauty of Open RAN, because you're not limited to a specific vendor. There may be other applications or maybe in-house development of the applications. And then, of course, the near real-time RIC has more information about the radio network, radio access network. They may have a database showing that. This near real-time rig also can be deployed as multiple servers, and then they are sharing the same data. The near real-time rig connects to various RAN components via the E2 interface, still as shown here. And then the control centralized unit may be multi-RAT or multi-radio access technology. So that means it can be running 5G, 4G, 3G, and even 2G. Okay, so they are running on a virtualized network function virtualization platform and connects the CU to DU via the FWAT. And finally, DU to RU is the connection of the front haul. Okay, you will notice there are also protocols here like the PHY, the physical layer, the medium access control, MAC, and others. No? Because these RU, DU, CU components are assigned the different RAN protocols. It's not fixed no, that RU is in charge of this, DU is in charge of this. No? The mobile network operator may change how they assign the protocols. No? And that is defined no, by the functional split, this 3GPP approach. Technical report 38.801. Okay, so in that case, no, they split the CU and DU, and then the specific functions no, of the RAN may be allocated to different components. So maybe some are allocated in the centralized unit, some are allocated in the distributed unit, and the radio unit. So which protocols are being allocated? These are the usual RAN protocols. No? And the SDAP is usually for 5G only. So the RAN protocols here may be placed no, in various components like this. The radio frequency may be on the RRU, the PHY and above at the BBU, or even just PHY until the RLC at the distributed unit and the PDCP and above at the centralized unit. Okay, so just to summarize, let me go to my summary slide. Okay, sorry. Siguro let me end in the different deployments. No? So what we have learned today is that the Open RAN has opened has opened the flexibility no, to for the network operators to mix and match no, such that their hardware components like the servers may be from different vendors, and then they can just run the like this. So they can just run the virtualized functions no, on top of this COTS servers. And then from there, if one component goes down, if they need to replace the hardware, they can simply, of course, change it. After checking for interoperability, they can update one and then input it again, or rather set it up again. And then if there is an upgrade as well on the software, they can also switch vendor if necessary. Okay, so to sum up, so we learned that the RAN is composed of different components like radio, centralized unit, the distributed units, and in the Open RAN architecture, everything should be open. All the hardware components, including the interfaces, should be open. And then the four main functional components of Open RAN is the distributed unit, the centralized unit, and the near real-time rig, and also the SMO with the non-real-time rig. All these components are interconnected by various interfaces, and you can revisit this by looking at the architecture.